Homer, City Council.
Mike Warrington, City Council Member.
Shelby Carcelari, City Council Member.
Ronnie Price, Mayor.
Troy Tabor, City Council President.
Greg Schneider, council member.
Tim Berry, council member.
All right, tonight invocation will be Pastor John Langley of East Point Church. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Good to
Good,
see
thank
you
you.
again.
Let's pray. Father, like Psalm 20 states about the king, that the one who is praying is asking for you to grant him his desire. And so, Father, I pray tonight that you would grant the desire of this panel, of the mayor, that you would enrich it with wisdom, that you would enhance it with understanding, and that you would give this city, our city, Andover, the opportunity to thrive because of this leading body. I pray for this, Father, because I need that kind of leadership, and I pray for them to seek out to be the best leaders that they possibly can be. May you bless them, may you work with them, and may you work through them. And it's in the name of Jesus I pray. Amen.
Amen. Now let's stand for a pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We start out with the citizen's request for street closure. Lance, there he is.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the Crescent Lakes Homeowners Association has requested to close a portion of East Crescent Lakes Drive, excuse me, on September 12th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. for a back-to-school bash / cookout. If I remember correctly, this is not the first time this event has been held. Both the police chief and the chief of police have reviewed and don't have any concerns, and Mr. Easter from the neighborhood is here if you guys should have any questions for him.
Any questions?
Does the fire chief agree to? Did I mess something up? Yes. Oh, you knew what I meant. I'm good for at least one mistake a night.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve the request to close the portion of East Crescent Lakes Drive on September 12, 2020 from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. All right. Now I'd like to open up a public forum. If you'd like to speak, say your name and your address for the records.
Greg Schneider, 1338 North Valley Court, Andover. I come to the podium today as a concerned resident of Andover. For those that do not know, we recently had a severe pit bull attack in our community. A man was severely bitten and required 6 stitches to close the wound. I'd just like to remind everyone watching and listening that the pit bull ban is still in effect in Andover.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Anyone else? All right. Public forum closed. Acceptance of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Actually,
Oh.
can I interrupt?
I do want to point out on number 8.6, we have your fireworks display for what has traditionally been known as Greater Andover Days, but this year will just be a fantastic fireworks display. That does include a road closure of Yorktown from noon until midnight from the Dam Road to Central. That's pretty dark and hard to see. So Dam Road to Central on Yorktown, noon to midnight. Because we just talked about a road closure in open meeting, and we typically talk about road closures in open meeting, I wanted to call your attention that that's included as part of that request. Don't think there should be any disruption. The road's only been open for 3 months, so I think we all know how to function without Yorktown open in that spot, but I do want to call that to your attention.
So has that been added, Jenny, to this? Because it's not part of my...
It's just what they're asking includes that they're going to shoot from Yorktown, so you will have to close the road starting at about noon so they can set up.
What day is that on?
October 3rd, it's a Saturday. It would have been GAD weekend.
Are they...
Thanks, Jenny.
Excuse me, sorry. Are they closing parts of like the high school football field too, or just the road?
I believe just the road. They did have an internal staff meeting, I believe, with some fire personnel and Rick today, so I don't know if there's anything else you guys need to share about logistics.
Well, actually, I missed
I was a little late to meet. I was tied up in another event, but we did talk about on that road closure, we would also close off, obviously, the walking trails for safety. Much like we used to close off the back side of the lake during GAD, we'll continue to do that so that they can set up those shooting devices and then shoot them and then tear them back down, and then after they get done, we'd open the road back up that evening. Hopefully no later than midnight. Everybody wants to go home.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was just asking because we normally sit at the football stadium, so I was just curious.
No, that should be open still over in that area. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.8 as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excuse me, motion carries 6-0. All right. Cornerstone 5th Edition, Engineering Design and Construction Phase Services Agreement.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the Cornerstone 5th Edition, which is 2 and 3 family units directly east of the Cornerstone Neighborhood Park, was originally reviewed, considered, and approved and or accepted by you guys back in July of this year. The owner and developer of that property is now ready to begin constructing the improvements necessary to serve that development. You guys, as you know, we don't do any design engineering or inspection of construction projects. We typically retain the platting engineer. In this case, Baughman Company was that platting engineer and is whom the proposed agreement is with. The staff would recommend approval of that agreement. And as a reminder, the payment for these services is paid for through special assessments. It's included in that petition amount that you accepted. These particular petitions are shared 75% the benefit district, the owner of the lots that you see here, and 25% city at large. So the services within this agreement will be paid via that same cost responsibility share. I can answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve an agreement with Baughman Company, PA, Wichita, Kansas, for the engineering, design, and construction phase services for the Cornerstone 5th Edition in a not-to-exceed amount of $163,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right. The Cornerstone 10th Edition, Final Plan to Unit Development.
It seems like it was just last month I was here with the Cornerstone 9th Edition, but things are going very well in the development of that residential subdivision. This 10th Edition is, they tell me, maybe 2 or 3 more phases of the single-family residential to complete Cornerstone. The Planning Commission has reviewed and approved this plat. It's here for your acceptance tonight of all the dedications.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the dedications on the Cornerstone 10th Edition Final Plan Unit Development Plan.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Mis-
Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may ask Les a question on, do we have like an average dwellers, I guess, per unit in Cornerstone? Is it 4? Is it like 2 adults, 2 children? Does that sound about right?
I don't know that subdivision specific, Troy.
Okay. We're adding a lot of people, which is wonderful.
Citywide, it's 2.9, something in that area.
Okay. Well, we just keep growing. Right?
Petition Developers Agreement and Resolution of Advisability. Lance is going to talk to us.
So now that the dedications have been accepted by the council, the owner-developer, in order to subdivide land, does have to make improvements to serve the development that you see before you. In order to do that, this owner-developer has submitted petitions in order to use special assessment financing to fund those improvements. So petitions for paving, sanitary sewer, and water distribution infrastructure have been submitted. This particular owner-developer has drafted these petitions, again, using those special considerations for city-at-large participation that's found in our special assessment policy, requesting that the city share in the cost for these improvements, 25%, 75% being the responsibility of the benefit district. You'll remember in that list of considerations, there are a number of different criteria, if you will, that staff provides you a report on, so you can make a determination on whether or not you want to accept petitions to that cost-sharing relationship. You can see those in the staff memo. In addition to the petitions for your consideration are the required developers agreement and the resolution of advisability, which are also required steps before these improvements can be constructed.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the petitions for paving, sanitary sewer, and water distribution system, approve the developer's agreement, and approve a resolution of advisability related to the Cornerstone 10th Edition.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries 6-0. Work ordinance,
So
10-3.
You're fine. For your consideration also is the work ordinance, which is required. It authorizes the construction of the improvements that we just discussed as part of those petitions.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve an ordinance authorizing construction of certain internal improvements related to Cornerstone 10th Edition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 10-4, Engineering, Design, and Construction Phase Services Agreement.
So much like the action that was just taken with Cornerstone 5th, this particular owner-developer is ready to move pretty quickly on these infrastructure improvements. So this, again, we recommend, we typically retain the platting engineer for Cornerstone 10th. It is MKEC Engineering. The costs associated with this agreement are to be paid for via the petition, which, as you guys just accepted, is 75% benefit district, 25% city at large.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, do it.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve an agreement with, excuse me, MKEC Engineering, Inc., Wichita, Kansas, for the engineering, design, and construction phase services for the Cornerstone 10th Edition in a not-to-exceed amount of $145,604.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 10-5, Drainage Easement. Les was going to talk to us.
That Cornerstone 10th Edition plat that you you just accepted had some improvements that lie outside of the platted area, and the developer and engineer prepared some off-site easements for, in this case, a drainage easement on the USD property. USD board has approved this easement and signed it. It's here for your acceptance tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the permanent drainage easement for USD 385 to accommodate drainage improvements for the Cornerstone 10th edition.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 6-0. 10-6, temporary construction easement, USD 385.
This temporary construction easement lies just outside of the permanent drainage easement that you just accepted. This allows the contractor to do some grading work outside of the easement. It's also been approved and signed by the USD 385 board.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept a temporary construction easement for USD 385 to allow for the construction of improvements for the Cornerstone 10th edition.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 10-7, utility easement Chestnut Ridge.
This utility easement lies just outside of the 10th edition platted area, adjacent to the 10th edition, but it is still owned by the Chestnut Ridge LLC, the developers of Cornerstone. They've signed the easement for your consideration and approval tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the dedication of a utility easement from the Chestnut Ridge LLC for utility work necessary for the adjacent, the Cornerstone 10th edition.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Traffic signal installation, Andover Road and Harry Road planned acceptance.
Mr. Mayor and Council, earlier in the year, Council approved a contract with Trans Systems Engineering to prepare plans get plans ready for letting for traffic signal at Harry and Andover Road. They have completed their work and are ready to go out for bid. The plans have been reviewed and approved and we'd like to go out for bid with the intention of bringing them back to council for their consideration of the bid results on September 29th meeting. Does anyone have any questions I can answer?
Rick, is there any crosswalk signals on this?
So there's a little bit of crosswalk work to happen in there, and especially because of where the poles are going, we have to rebuild a couple of the ADA accessible ramps in there also.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to accept the plans and authorize the bidding and traffic signal installation for the intersection of Andover Road and Harry Road.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Rick. Air purification systems for city-owned buildings. 12-1, I'm sorry.
You're fine. So, another part of the Sparks grant that we were awarded through the state and county. This is another one of those items. It was for to help remove the COVID-19 virus, amongst other things, out of the air circulation. We originally put in, because of the cost we thought was going to be so high, based on some early estimates we got, to only do the police, the fire, and then the open spaces inside this building, with an alternate to do the complete building. When we got our prices back, the lowest price was from Fawn Stock out of Wichita, and their price was, we had $75,000 in the budget, and the price was $796. So they did break out unit costs and are willing to continue to do other city facilities at that same unit price. So we are actually asking for authorization to continue at those same unit prices for up to $40,000, and we will go and add in, like the conference cabin, we didn't originally have that in there, the street shop, the park building, the wastewater facilities, and go ahead and get those places added into it and included. It should be under the $40,000, but because we didn't have a chance to do complete site visits and go through analysis on those, we don't know exactly which piece will be in there, but they have all the different devices listed in there, so each site will be a little different. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try
Can
to
you
answer.
explain how that works? I mean, is it?
Not really. It uses a combination of what they call bipolar and ionization to do it, and I know one of the things that before COVID, they were talking about these devices were supposedly really good at removing other viruses and also helping with people that have allergen issues. So I'm hoping we have some added benefits other than just the COVID-19 to go along with this, that we can get out of this for all of our facilities, actually.
So it's installed in the
So,
ducting?
so it depends on the type of device. So we have, in this room, it would go in the ducting, and in other locations, they just actually kind of plug in the wall because we have a lot of ductless systems in a lot of our facilities, so you can't put in ducts. So they go in and they just go through the air circulation in those rooms. So there's a combination device. That's why I said it depends on where we're at on what we're doing and what size of the device it is and so forth.
Thank you.
Is it the same type of technology with like the blue lights, I guess?
So the UV lights was kind of one of the early on part of those systems, and we did analyze those. The cost of replacing UV and electric costs and so forth is something we really want to get into. I was looking for something that had a little bit a little cheaper long-term O&M costs, operation and maintenance, and so these devices actually have almost a zero cost as far as maintenance go. Some have little filters you can take out and kind of knock against the wall and put it back in. They don't really collect dust or anything. They're supposedly, they got like a 7 or 8 year, I'm going to get that wrong, warranty on them. So yeah, it's similar though. The UV was a much more aggressive style as far as if you had paper filters that come across with it, disintegrate those and so forth, but similar.
Thank you.
I will mention just about Sparks in general. We got great news today from the county that this isn't the great news. The great news is coming. So 2 of our projects did get kicked back and need additional justification. So we're working on that. But of the 10 or so that we submitted, it was just these 2 that needed further justification. So everything you've already approved and the 2 that are before you tonight have been approved by not just the county, but also the state now. So we are at a place that we can place those orders and begin acquiring those goods.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to authorize the purchase and installation of air purification systems in various city-owned buildings from Fondstock of Wichita, Kansas, an amount not to exceed $40,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Replacement of seating in public spaces of city-owned buildings, 12-2.
Mr. Mayor and Council, another item of the Sparks grant was to replace, like for example in this room, we have the padded chairs that have the fabric surface to them that aren't antimicrobial. I never can get that word right. Anyway, so we are proposing to replace those, and then in the ACC, we have some chairs over there. In the lodge, we have some chairs over there. The conference cabin, we have some chairs over there. And then there's some more chairs in the entryway waiting area of the police department. Those are 3 different styles of chairs. In the ACC and the lodge, we were proposing generally to purchase a higher end folding chair to replace those clumsy, heavy chairs to move around for an event. And then in the lodge, I call it the carpeted room. I think it's room 1, but it's 2. I always get it wrong. Anyway, the carpeted room where you have your monthly workshop meeting, we will have a nicer chair similar to those, but with it almost looks like a vinyl, but it's a padded chair, and they're nice surface on those. It's a little more comfortable for a meeting room, for a meeting style. These are utilizing either on the HON, it's utilizing a state contract, and on the KI furniture, it's utilizing a national purchasing contract. If anyone has any questions, I'm more happy to try to answer.
Did you say that the cabin would have the nice chairs, but in here would be metal chairs that are not?
No, I'm
padded
sorry.
at all?
If I said that, that's not what I
I
meant.
misunderstood then. Okay.
So in here, we'd replace these just with a surface of a chair that can be cleaned and disinfected. The conference cabin would have more of a folding chair style. And if we had a long-term event, we could move those over, these style over there. The lodge will have a combination of those style of chairs and folding chairs. for a lot of events, you're transferring out and back a lot of chairs. Those folding chairs would be what would be utilized for a lot of that purpose.
Hey, Rick, in our packet, can you show us or tell us which chair we're...
Yeah, so, and my apologies, after looking at the packet again, it is really hard to determine what we're talking about here, but there's a green highlight underneath them, and then you can go down and follow those chairs. But if you scroll down to, and it's not a very good picture of the actual folding chair, I think it's the VL100 SGBL frame. It's like a white plastic folding chair. Those would be your event style chairs that we'd be getting, and I believe there was 280 of those in this purchase. And then if you scroll past that and you go down to, in this one there's not an actual exact picture of that chair, but if you go down to, it's got a page 3 on its little presentation down there. There's a table with a couple chairs. If you look on the, I'm going to say this right, the bottom right corner-ish, there's a looping style of chair that doesn't have the pad on. These would have the pad on. That's an option you get with a different colored back and so forth. But it would have a padded seat on it, just not as fabric-y as that. It'd be more of a, I don't want to call it vinyl because that comes off a little bit like what it's not. It's a really nice fabric. Okay. It's just antimicrobial. I can't say that word. I'm sorry.
Microbial?
Microbial. Thank you. I cannot say that word.
So where it says maximize space on page 3, that's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Very similar, but with the padding on it.
Okay.
Padded chair.
And that's for in here?
That'd be for in here.
Okay.
And then if you go further down, I'm sorry, if you go further down, there is the chairs that the PD selected, and it's way down there. I think it is actually the second chair with kind of the wood frames down on it, out of the 3 of the, the lobby-ish looking chairs. It's the middle of those 3. That is that chair.
Mr. Mayor? Yes, sir. I move to authorize the purchase of office furniture from Galaxy Business Equipment, Inc. of Winfield, Kansas in the amount of $62,167.44 as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
13, City of Andover Policies and Guidelines. 13.1, purchasing.
Mr. Mayor, Council, you guys will remember a conversation we had with you all at the last workshop. If not, I can do that presentation again at about 45 minutes if you guys are okay with that.
Go ahead, Lance.
Go ahead and start.
So, slide 1. I'm kidding. So, you guys will remember upon, excuse me, being awarded community development block grant funds for the CV program specifically, there are a number of different requirements that come with accepting federal money for these types of grant programs. One of those is conformance with various regulations and policy requirements. So upon receipt of that grant funding, one of those items that we weren't in compliance with was our purchasing policy. So because of that, we went back and revised and presented you a draft purchasing policy revision. Since that presentation at your workshop, there have been no substantial changes to that policy. We've kind of reorganized some things and further defined some things, but the salient information contained in that purchasing policy haven't changed. So generally speaking, the things that purchasing policy is really looking at are getting us within CDBG conformance, but also really putting our processes, detailing our processes to make sure that we're following the purchasing processes that we should. So things such as small purchases under $10,000, what that process specifically looks like, when to use competitive bidding and competitive negotiations, and making sure everyone understands what those are. It also includes the required code of conduct, which is kind of ethics in purchasing. And then We've also adjusted the purchasing authority for various staff members or levels of staff members, and then clarifying when council approval is needed for a purchase, how that comes to you specifically, what may be placed on the consent agenda, and what must have a regular agenda item. So those all are detailed within that policy. I will not walk through that presentation, but I will try to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I also like piping up with good news on this item. CDBG, we were able to go through the application process, and I'm happy to say that we've notified 11 businesses that they will be awarded CDBG money, and that did utilize the full $132,000 we were awarded. So some pretty good help for those businesses. They are now pulling together receipts and documentation in order to receive that funding, and we hope to get everything off to the state and get that money moving from the state here locally next week.
And you said that was 11, Jenny?
Yes, sir.
And how many applied?
I think right around 11. I think we were able to, on time, I think we were able to get everyone. We did leave the application live after the deadline just in case we had money left over, but of everyone that applied on time, everyone was awarded. Deadline was the 3rd.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution repealing City Policy 2-1 and City Policy 2-11 and approving a revised purchasing policy.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have a gentleman here that missed a public forum, and I'd like to invite him up to speak. Please state your name and your address, please, sir.
I don't mind waiting until the very end if you guys, if that
No,
would be
go
a better
ahead.
time. Matt Basler, I live over in Green Valley. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for seeing me out of the sequence of tonight's events. I came from a football practice, so I try to get here as soon
All
as I
right,
can.
that's
so I
all right.
apologize. There's just a concerned citizen. I just like to bring it to the city's attention that there's growing discontent among many of my neighbors about the billing practices of the city of Wichita for water, for those of us not on well water. When in June, I laid sod and my bill was $283.94 for the month of June. That was legit. I use that much water. I don't have a problem paying. I then take my family on a 2-week vacation in the month of July. I turn off the water, I turned it on the sprinkler system, and I didn't water as much. No one was home for 2 weeks. I get a bill the next month for $283.94. And I call the city of Wichita Water Company and I say, hey, I wasn't even home for 2 weeks. And they say, well, we are showing you use 21,894 gallons of water. Well, what did I use in June? Well, 21,894 gallons of water. That doesn't strike you as odd? I asked her and I said, I need a readout of everything. She sends me a readout and she says, if you see zeros in a lot of the areas, this is a lady that works for the city of Wichita, you don't have a leak. Because if you had a leak, it would show that there's maybe a gallon here, a gallon there on every hour. Everywhere I have zeros. I did the water tabs, nothing. And so I call her back and I said, hey, I don't have a leak. You've proved I don't have a leak. It's $283.94. How are you taking the meter reading? And she says, well, we drive by real slow and we do a little wireless scan. So then I started walking around to my neighbors, and all my neighbors are saying, we got the same exact bill 2 months in a row as well. So I call her back and I say, I think you got a bad reading, or I think there's something wrong here. And it's unacceptable for me for a city of Wichita water person to say, well, people just don't realize how much water they use, and then that's the end of it. So I almost said I smell a rat, but there's something odd here, and it's unacceptable to me when at least 3 dozen of my neighbors on the Nextdoor neighbor app are saying the exact same issue. And so I purposely turned off the water for a 2-day period just to see what they would say. And sure enough, I had zeros across the board. And so I know that there's no leak on my side. I know that there's no issue, and they're still charging me $283.94 every month, and they can't say where it's coming from. They come out, and even I have 2 officials from the City of Wichita Water who say, admit to me, in email and over the phone, I don't know. We have no clue why your bill is this high. Well, like I told them, as a paying consumer, you can understand why that's an unacceptable answer to me. So I'm just here as the first step in the process to go, I need help. There's 36 of my neighbors and I who need help here. And these answers that we're getting from the City of Wichita are not acceptable. And when I ask them, what is the City of Wichita's policy when you get a bad reading? Do you send somebody out? They will not answer me. They always answer back with some other answer, or they go, did you try this? They will not answer the question. My philosophy is when they don't get a good reading, they duplicate the previous month and they just go, well, on average, if this is an estimate. And I'm okay with that answer if sometime in the future the estimate goes down and they underbill me. But they haven't underbilled me. Now I'm paying $300 a month. I don't mind paying that if I'm using that much water. But I'm frustrated, and I don't know where else to turn other than next step is calling my congressman. So I just wanted to bring it to attention as maybe a source of subject of discussion in the future.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Can I,
Go ahead, Homer. I'm sorry.
sorry. Can I ask you a couple questions?
Sir.
And I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Matt Bassler.
Matt, so just from previous experience, I'm going to ask you a couple questions and
Certainly.
just don't take offense to it, but this has happened to me, right? So I don't have well water either. Sorry, Rick. But when you put in the sod, what was your bill before the sod?
The bill the month prior to putting in the sod,
Yeah.
I'd have to pull the records, but I remember it being $50 or $60.
Okay. And then do you have an irrigation sprinkler company that you use?
I do. In fact, I thought it might be a leak. So I called the guy that I use. He comes out. He does a test. There's no leak. And I killed 2 birds with one stone. He came out to do the annual test of the
backflow.
And he says, you don't have a leak.
And so he looked at your system and you weren't watering 3 times a day or whatever?
No, in fact, he offered that. And I said, okay, let's go in there. And I reset the whole system. I turned it off. I reset the system so that it would erase all previous waterings. And him and I together set it for one time at 5 in the morning. Now here's more information. When I called and I got the readings and everything like that, while I'm gone, this is the part that bothers me the most. While I'm gone on a 2-week family vacation, the City of Wichita is saying someone's in my house using 100 gallons a night. No one was home and the house was locked. And my water runs in the morning. And sure enough, in the morning, it shows 500 gallons on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. And then they're like, well, someone was using 100 gallons. No one was home. And I can conclusively prove nobody was home. And my wife, we're both military. My wife is deployed. So your readings are off somewhere. And that's why when I was home, I shut the water off I misspoke. When I went up to Kansas City and I purposely shut off the sprinklers for 2 days just to see what would they show, and their water showed zeros. So while I was gone, they were saying that someone was using my water. No one was home.
And so those days you shut off, you still ended up with the same bill?
Yes.
Thank you. Previous experience with me, I was watering 27 times a week, and it ended up being my irrigation system was set wrong cycle, but it sounds like you went through that process, so I just wanted to get that, make sure.
I feared that might have been the case, and so that's why I had our guy come out and with me, we unplugged it, we reset it, just so it would erase out any previous scheduled waterings. So I know it waters one time, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, from 5 to 7 in the morning.
Do we have a liaison for the city of Wichita? Yes, Jenny?
I don't know that we still do. I will say on this matter, I got fired at because I personally experienced a $640 bill, and it was a doubling of my usage. And so I understood, and I'm sure you all are well aware, the way the tiering works with the water in Andover. If you use a certain amount of gallons, it's one price. Now you move into the second tier, it bumps up to a higher rate per gallon. And then if you go into that dreaded third tier, it really jumps up on you. So for example, $480 of my $640 was in the third tier. So it was the third tier that really got my bill up. Councilman Henry very kindly was like, "Are you sure your system's set right?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, I've been through that before at another house. I know how to use my irrigation." Well, that was part of the problem. We had a leak, and we did have an additional setting that my husband said, "It's only watering once a day." Oh, well, it was actually watering twice a day. And we had a different situation. We got a new meter in the middle of a cycle, and they explained to me that my old meter was probably not as accurate, so I was paying for 20,000 gallons in a month when I probably was using more than 20,000 gallons. So a far different situation than what Mr. Basler is talking about today. So I would be happy through this process. I got engaged in Nextdoor, and I made a lot of friends. And
McCausland?
Yes.
Well, I've spoken to you numerous times. And
So I will reach out to the woman that I spoke to. She's probably one that you've talked to, but I will certainly reach
Miss
out.
Patty?
Mm-hmm.
She's very nice. She's very nice.
But not helpful.
But we're at the point now in our conversation with Miss Mills that she admits, she's like, "I can't explain why you're showing water usage when you're out of town, and I can't explain why you're showing zeros across the board, but yet the bill is the exact same amount 2 months in a row."
Do you have any work going on around your house? I've caught construction companies using my hose before, so that's, I'm just.
But it wouldn't be the exact same.
No,
number
it's
for
no, this is,
multiple
yeah.
residents. That's an error.
pretty strange, so.
And when I bring that up, it's also unacceptable for me for the city to just go, "Well, people don't know how much water they use in the summer."
Yeah.
I can understand, and what caught my eyes to the penny,
It's
2 months in a
exactly the
row
same.
when it's high priced. I can understand if it was $270 and then $283, but I'm not an idiot. To me, I suspect they took a bad reading, and I just want them to tell me, "We took a bad reading, we gave you an estimate, it'll come out in the wash on the next month," but yet there's no resolution.
No, they should be able to break it down. If they can't, they need to audit it or something. Something's got to give there.
Well, they sent a guy out, and he checked the meter, and he wrote me on my phone, and he said, "I'm here, I'm checking the meter, it's working fine. Sorry."
Yeah, but do the numbers match?
Right.
No, they don't.
No, that's what I'm saying. Can he verify? I
That's
feel
what
like
he's
you should get a group of homes in a row, and since we're their customer as a city, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the Nextdoor app.
Perhaps we could, get that group and say,
Yeah,
"Hey, I wish you to."
I will say, not to diminish the situation at all, the majority of the Nextdoor app were not this situation. I think the exact same billing was actually really isolated. Most of the people were that traditional, "I can't believe how much it costs to water my yard." And in fact, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Some were like, $125 is outrageous. And I was like, "Are you kidding? I'll pay that one." So I don't think it's the same issue across all those Nextdoor neighbor app users, but I will certainly look into this. And I misspoke earlier, Councilman Schneider is the liaison to City of Wichita, so we can reach out together and get a hold. I actually started with Bob Layton when I got my bill because I was like, "Bob, what's going on with my water?" So we will get a hold of someone at City of Wichita and get to the bottom of what's going on.
And I'm a reasonable man. If you simply tell me this is the policy that we duplicate the month previous if there's a bad reading, I'll accept that. I just want to hear the answer that this is the policy, and that would make more sense. But don't tell me you're billing me, I used the exact same amount to the gallon every month when I know I was on vacation for 2 weeks. And I know for the week in August, I was not deployed, but TD on a business trip for a week. So I'm not using the same amount, and I don't mind paying for water I use. I just don't want to pay for water I'm not using.
Right.
So Anyway, I just wanted to come by and raise the issue. I apologize for not making the public forum. Thank you for hearing my issue, and please let me know whatever else I can provide.
We'll look into it for you.
I appreciate it, sir.
We
Thank you.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much.
I'll be intrigued by next month's bill, though. I mean,
Oh, I'll be in touch with you.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
So we'll give you Henry's phone number since he's so intrigued, okay?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't mind.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not scared.
All right. So, Mayor, I can't say that word. Rick, you say that for me? Mayor Point.
Mayoral.
And, okay, so,
Mayoral.
Moyle? Are we done?
I guess.
Sorry,
So,
sir.
so we had, we decided to have a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and we had about 20 people apply for it, and we narrowed it down to 8 people, and we did it with trying to get somebody from every area of town, all walks of life, whether it be young, we got young guys, people from that weren't born in the United States of America but are American citizens. Just a whole eclectic group of people that we thought that brought something new, a new set of eyes, a new vision, and so we've got it down to 8, and I'm going to be on the advisory board as well. And Lance, would you like to explain to us what it is that we're going to do? Just a summary, please. Or I could read it and take all night long.
Well, that's what I was going to do, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. No, so the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, as you guys have approved it, it purely serves as an advisory board to you all. So when there's generally speaking, if there's an issue related to our Parks and Recreation systems that you would like a concentrated group of citizens to review and get kind of in the weeds and really discuss it and give you a recommendation on, generally that's what they'll be used for. Additionally, we are one of their first major projects will be the update of our upcoming 10-year Parks and Recreation System Master Plan, which, as you guys know, sets forth strategy long-term, both immediate or current plan strategy and long-range plan strategy. So they'll be busy, but they're there purely to serve to help you all as an advisory board, so they work for you.
Thank you. And like I stated, we give a lot of thought to it. We just didn't draw names out of a hat. We talked about every area of town, Crescent Lake, Green Valley, all areas of town, and we did, like I say, we picked a young person for their young eyes and what they might like, a person that's an educator and spends time with special needs folks. So we just put a lot of thought into it, and I'd like you to approve them if you wouldn't mind.
Mr. Mayor, how many applicants did we
Right
get?
around 20.
20 and but narrowed it down then to the 9, including yourself, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Only one. It had to be me or a council member, and it's just something I felt like I wanted to do.
You're passionate about.
Yeah.
I see Jody's name on here. Good job, Jody.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the mayoral appointments to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
We didn't really have too much more comments on this, but I did see that there was one lady on here who had quite a bit of experience in Parks and Recreation, and so that was good to see that someone, I think it was Kirsten, who had a lot of experience, and I read through every one of the resumes because one of the main thing I was looking for was to make sure that they were involved in some type of parks or recreation or sports, and some weren't, but I was hoping that they were more of the enjoying the parks part of it instead of mostly sports or recreation. So I hope they will be open-minded in that and be able to put together some good advisory decisions for us.
All right. 15.1 executive session, attorney-client privilege.
Do you really only need 10 minutes? Yeah? Okay.
Mr.
Go ahead, Homer.
Troy, I was going to let you go ahead.
That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move to recess into executive session for consultation with the city attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship per KSA 75-4319B2. The session to include the governing body, city attorney, and city administrator. The open meeting will resume at 8:01.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
To make a motion, or I'd move that we return from executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Back in session, motion carries. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the real estate purchase agreement with LHIW LLC at the purchase price of $400,000 and for the staff to execute all related purchase and closing documents and statements for the land generally located at Minnehaha and Andover Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right. On to member items. Anybody?
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
I just want to have, ask Jenny a question. How are we looking on our census? Are we, pretty high on it? I know this deadline's coming up soon, and if it goes with the deadline, what happens after that?
So we are doing better than many cities in Andover. Last I saw, we were in the upper 70%, which honestly I didn't think sounded that good, but I think we are in the top 25 or 30 of cities across the state. But as I believe you've all seen, we've tried to communicate for every family, I think of 4 that gets missed, it's $55,000 to $60,000 over 10 years that we could be shorted in federal funding. So it's really important. So thank you very much, Councilman Warrington, for bringing that up. We did receive a grant from Kansas Health Foundation to do advertisements on Facebook, and I think that's helped. Butler County is one of the best counties across the state, but we still could use more. We want everyone counted. So if you have neighbors who don't have internet access or maybe aren't as likely to respond to things on social media, please check on them and ask if you can help fill it out for them. Obviously, they need to give you the information to provide, but you could aid a neighbor or a family member in getting their census complete, and that would be very helpful because once the deadline hits, which is now, I believe, is it the end of this month? It's the end of this month. It was supposed to be the end of October because of COVID, and then they somewhat unilaterally moved that up 1 month about 2 months ago, and everybody scrambled and went, we only have until the end of September. So critical time. Please check on your neighbors, check on your family, especially people that might not be as likely to respond to those messages, and make sure they get counted, because that helps our community a great deal. School funding, highway road funding, anything that comes down from the feds is where that really helps.
I know there used to be door knocking after
They're
something like this.
doing that now. They're
Okay.
doing that now, and that is helpful. I believe the state numbers, I can't remember exactly where they were. I was on a call last week. I'll go back and listen to it. I believe they said statewide they did get the percentage up about 10% in the amount of time they've been out. So I'll get that number for you and send that to you. But COVID hampered the door knocking for sure. So they do have people doing that, but not as maybe effectively as they have in other census years.
Okay, thank you.
I have items.
A couple quick things. One is the self-store that's near 21st on Andover Road. I'd spoken with them before where they had issues with water coming in off of where the gas station is in that open field. I think Bill King probably owns it. And it's over the years, about every year or two, it completely destroys their entire parking lot inside. They have to replace it. They've also went in and put in concrete walls to try to block some of the water from coming in. If there's something that we can look at to do to help in some way, if there's some legal thing we can do, or if we can just clean or help with the ditch that's right next to it. It is on Bill King's land though, even though it's a waterway, so I don't know what we can do, but it'd be nice to look into that and see if there's anything we can do to help. It's pretty expensive, and it was requested from our,
I
one
did
of our
look at
citizens,
that
so-
once you mentioned it, and it is overgrown very bad. It's really overgrown, so the water can't flow through there correctly, so.
Timing is perfect on that. I actually just sent an email today about it. We've been emailing back and forth Trans Systems. They're doing the engineering on the Andover Road project up north. And we have asked them to investigate the road crossing there because we felt like it was undersized, and it turns out it is undersized.
Okay.
So as part of that road project, we'll put that back into that and get it done, obviously, before we repave the road. And that'll help with some of that. You are correct. The rest of that is on Mr. King's land. There's not an easement across there or anything. So if we wanted to forcefully do anything, it would be condemnation or something like that, or purchase, but we can contact Mr. King and see if there's something else we could do. But I hope, the intention is, the thought is that a lot of that backwater would be able to be reduced drastically by increasing the pipe size, because the pipe size weren't sized enough to carry, to go underneath Andover to carry all that drainage now. So that will help. Probably a little bit of other work needs to be done too.
have you spoken directly with the owners of self-store? Just
I
kind of
have.
let them know what we're doing? Thank you.
No, I haven't told them that, because
Oh.
that just, in the last few days came out. I can contact them and let them know that, but I have talked to them in the past and told them we were going to try to do something, and I knew this project was coming up, and that's where we're at this point.
That's wonderful news. Thank you. A couple of other quick things. One is I was in a meeting, and there was a study on fatalities in Kansas and accidents, and they find that 5 out of every 6 crashes are due to driver error, not to things that were out of the control of the driver, which is pretty significant. And then 95% of the actual deaths are caused by driver error on accidents in Kansas. So something to be aware of. I know that we do a lot of stuff already in our city, but just, man, all you kids out there driving and adults, get off your dang phones. Also, there's a website called candrive.org. It's K-A-N drive.org, and it has all of the active construction and all the highways in Kansas. So if you're going to drive somewhere or go on a trip or whatever, it's kind of cool to look at that if you want and see what's up, or just kind of see all the red squigglies everywhere and see all of your money being poured into the roads in Kansas. And the last thing would be, I was looking on I keep track of it almost every day. I don't know why, but currently we're at a total of 3 active COVID cases in Andover, 3. Even though we don't have a mask requirement, everyone's doing a really good job. So I think we made the right choice on that. And then all of Butler County, we have a total of 27 active cases in all of Butler County.
Are those hospitalized, or are they just deposited?
They're just positive active
tests.
cases. Yeah. Yep.
What's the highest we've had?
We've had a total of 441 cases throughout time with this. 414 recovered, leaving 27 active.
Thank you, Troy.
4 fatalities though, which is sad.
Tim, you have anything?
Actually, it's Mr. Oh, here. I do want to mention to the public who are watching, who are here, Jody, if you have not seen the new brush trucks from the fire department, they are here tonight. However, stop by the station, and Chief, are you letting folks come see them or no? Well, I forget about the whole COVID thing, so I apologize.
I'm glad he's got a mask on.
Okay, so they'll be out in the community. They're wonderful. The firefighters love them. They appreciate the community and the support of the fire, support of them. So if you haven't seen them, see them out in the community. They're a wonderful asset for our town. So other besides that, nothing else, Mr. Mayor.
All right. No? All right. I want to just thank staff again for, speaking of COVID, we've been through a lot this year, and it's just kind of been a blur. And staff has gone above and beyond what they have to do, what they go above and beyond the call of duty to make things happen. I appreciate it. Same way with Chief Chad and Chief Keller. You guys do a tremendous job through all this stuff, and sometimes it may seem like it goes unnoticed, but it really doesn't. We appreciate all of what you do. Les, you as well. So, Rick, let your folks know that even though that they're not in the public eye every day, that they are continually on this mayor's mind, would you please? They mean a lot to me, they mean a lot to the city, and they just go like no one notices there. It's just elves do all this magic stuff, make the city look nice, and so let them know that I do think about them every single day when I get up and travel around town, which is what I do a lot of. All right, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. And with that, can we get a motion to adjourn? If no
So
one-
moved.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank